can't really force someone to start a company just like you can't force someone to quit their job. But ultimately, everyone knows this, like you will only quit your job when you're ready. We could try everything to get someone who's not ready to start a business, but ultimately it's a multi-year commitment. Tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people have used our free tools. That's things like join our workshops and learn how to start a business. So we are trying to build free tools for people pre-membership to get them ready to buy a membership, and we don't want anyone regretting their membership. It was the only real system that worked that allowed people in India to start a business, in Spain to start a business, and America to start a business all at the same time where we can provide value.
Welcome back to a new episode of Chew on This. Today's episode is actually brought to you by Pietra. Pietra is an incredible platform that's building one of the first e-commerce memberships where you can build, source, design, and create an incredible store or any idea you may have from start to finish all on one platform. And we were able and truly honored to bring Ro, who's the founder, CEO of Pietra, to share his journey on building Pietra to what it started with, which was a little bit different from where it is today, how he's raised money, his philosophy on raising money, and what he's doing today to build Pietra to what it's going to be tomorrow. So Ro, thank you so much for making time to come on the pod and share your journey.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. For a few people who may not know you for some reason, give a little bit of the intro and what your journey's been like.
Okay, I mean, those are two big things, but the overview on Pietra is we are building a platform. It's a membership platform, and we build the tools that allow any entrepreneur of any size from anywhere in the world to start and operate their business without having to hire big teams. So we believe in a future of the 26 million e-commerce websites in the world goes to 100 million without lowering the quality. But we do think that ideas can come from anywhere in the world, and people should have the tools to start a business and operate that business and enrich their lives in a different way that exists today. And the journey to get here is very different and very windy. We started as a jewelry company, a marketplace that helps jewelry designers specifically. And now we've scaled in this global platform that doesn't just help jewelry designers and brands, but all different types of brands and entrepreneurs.
That's awesome. And I think give a little bit about your background too, or like why did you get into, why were you even in jewelry to begin with? And where'd your vision come from building Pietra where it is going today?
Yeah, so good question. I think, so my background, I started at Uber. And I was tapped to help build out Uber Pool. It was like the last great rides product for that Travis was in love with. And we scaled that to a huge business in the billions of dollars around the world. And what I really loved about that was we thought about the company as a platform to move people, packages, things around a city. And so it was my first interesting foray into platform and infrastructure, where on the outside it looks like a ride-hailing app, and then on the inside it's like, actually, this is infrastructure that redefines how things move around a city. So I really fell in love with that. We built that thing, Uber Pool, it scaled, and then after...
Saved me a lot of money.
Yeah, and also I got yelled at consistently for 4 years when someone's like, I looped around the block, and I was like, it's the algorithms. But then after that, I actually went with Travis and was there in the early days of Cloud Kitchens when he went over there. And I also was infatuated with this idea of, okay, this is another infrastructure platform that goes global, and it helps lower the barriers of entry for restaurateurs and cooks and starting businesses in the food space. And that was when the wheels really started turning. I wanted to build commerce infrastructure. I knew that, right? A transportation infrastructure, food delivery infrastructure. And I was like, let me go take a big chunk out of commerce, which is another huge global phenomenon. And I learned this thing at Uber, which led me down this path, which was Uber had this amazing thing of every city you went in the world, you would ask someone how they felt if a car showed up and took them to where they wanted to go, and they'd be like, this is amazing. I really want this to exist. You went almost nowhere in the world and didn't get that reaction. So the next company that I wanted to build was one that also was universal. I wanted to be able to go to a bar in Bangladesh and ask someone with a beer and say, do you have a business idea? And get a response I definitely do. And I encourage anyone to try this. It's one of my favorite things. business ideas can come from anywhere in the world. And if you go to any bar in any city, 5 people are going to put their hands up at least and say, I have a business idea. I think we should like build this company. So I knew we had a universal problem to solve. And we wanted to start in one area. So we started in the fastest growing luxury segment that hadn't gone online, and that was high-end diamonds and jewelry. Little did I know there's a reason why it hadn't gone online. There's a reason why it was so archaic, and it was very difficult. And long story short, in building that company, we realized there were much more many more entrepreneurs, I would say, that were outside of jewelry that wanted many of the same things that we were building just for that one vertical. Yeah. And we're like, I remember it was like the night before Christmas, the jewelry designers that were using our platform were all behind on orders. And I was like, oh my God, these people are so good at launching these businesses and running these businesses on the internet, but they're really, really bad at operating these businesses. Mm-hmm. And we should pivot the whole company to just specifically helping all these operators run their businesses, because they were born in this generation, which means their expertise are not actually in operations. They're like brand and storytelling and social. And so I saw this wave, and that's when we pivoted the company. Bit of a windy path, but we got here.
It's incredible.
Where does the name Pietra come from?
Fun fact, actually Anna Wintour picked this name. So when we were a jewelry company, our first, one of our first employees that we hired was someone who was related to Anna Wintour, and we were struggling with these names, and we did the classic like engineer in a room trying to pick all these names. We like listed them out. We're like, foreign names for this, foreign words for this. Like, let's try and seem cool. So we started as a company called Carbon. We then found out that Apple owns Carbon.com. So we're like, damn. Jeez. So we changed it to Carbon Club, just so I could put the legal Zoom papers in and like get it going. And then almost everyone in the space that I talked to, probably the first 25 people we try to sell software to, were like, this is the worst name in the history of names. Like, we sell $12,000 pieces of jewelry. We don't want to be associated with this. And I was like, oh my God, we got to do a naming exercise. So we sat down in a room, we picked 5 names. And then the person we were with, she was like, I'm going to have dinner with Anna Wintour tomorrow. I'll just ask her. I'm like, ask her. Right after the dinner, she gets a call. She's like, she chose Pietra. I mean, stone in Italian, which is like the perfect combination of, high-end luxury and an ode to jewelry. And I'm like, done. Change all the documents. And it was just that easy.
That's incredible. To kind of jump in more into the Pietra piece, right? Like, I find it fascinating, and I follow a lot of your content, and especially the tidbits on how you guys have been building, and we'll get into the AI piece, which I think you guys are doing a really cool thing there, but the fundamentals of the business, right? So let's break it down. Like, I have an idea that I believe these different types of sweatshirts, and everyone should be wearing hoodies, but I think what I would like to have is, I don't like t-shirts, but I would love to have hoodies that don't have sleeves, okay? Let's just say that's my business idea. I really believe in it, right? And I come to Pietra to make this come alive. Walk me through this process, and what you guys can do, what you can maybe help facilitate, and then what comes to the founder.
Yeah, great question. So
just like imagining you.
We're gonna make
these shut-off hoodies.
You're gonna get a box of this stuff in a couple weeks. But that is a great question, because it's exactly why we built this company. We know there's hundreds of millions of people in the world that have that exact idea, right? They're with their friends, they have an idea. How do you get started? We approach it through the lens of a membership, like a Costco for business operators. And we said, if someone is willing to become a member of our community and our platform, what are all the things that we can do for you that feel turnkey, that make it as easy as humanly possible, so that you can focus on the things you love, which is probably on the creativity side of a company versus the operations side of a company. That's what we find when people have ideas. So we said, okay, how would we build this experience? And people think that we had some, grand vision from the beginning. We didn't. Like, we talked to someone and they would be like, I want to make a hoodie with cut off sleeves, and I want, puff print on the middle or whatever. And we were like, okay, you're probably going to need some help designing the product. Like, you can't just go to a factory and be like, make me a hoodie. They'll be like, cool. There's like a million ways to make hoodies, right? And so it started off very, very straightforward. It's like, how can we help you prepare your idea to be manufactured? Then the second part is, so we want to make a bunch of software that made it really easy for you to take an idea from your head, and it doesn't have to be just like a hoodie. It could be like, we saw someone that had like pencil sketches of a coffee table. All right, cool. Like you have ideas, you want to make some stuff. And then we just follow the chain. So we're like, how do we make it super easy to go from, I have a napkin with a sketch on it, to a 3D visualization of something that can be manufactured. Then the next step is, can you go find me like the 50 best factories that can do this all around the world, sort them by price and production costs, and save me a year of just like researching? And stupidly enough, we're like, we could do this, and we deployed people all around the world. And what we realized is, before you knew it, we were building a global manufacturing network where you can submit your ideas to this network and then work with them. So we went from, I have an idea in my head, to I've designed a bunch of ideas, got some ideas, visualized it. I now sped through the process of finding a factory that's vetted, that has all their pricing, that's digitized. There's no like back and forth, the infrastructure to pay them in their local currency, all that stuff that we could do that everyone had to do, we built into the platform. And we were noticing just about
and does communication happen in the platform?
Communication, payments, insurance for your orders, freight organization, everything happens. And we basically did the first two steps, and we realized there are so many parts of e-commerce that we can make turnkey, and everyone reinvents the same wheel. And we're like, okay, like people just need to like get the freight into their fulfillment center. People need to put down a deposit to their factories and then make sure it auto pays on delivery. People need to replenish their order. They need to video chat with their factories, et cetera. So we once we started going a little bit down that path, we realized, oh wow, this is not like tech at all. Like my friend created this watch brand, and like the comparison of him going from I have an idea to start a watch company or a hoodie company to actually making it happen is like a 2-year windy process that costs tens of thousands of dollars. And I can start and fail at a tech company faster than they can even get straps manufactured in Switzerland, right? Because I'm like, I just use the AWS templates and I put it on the App Store. It takes me a weekend to code it, and it fails by the next Friday. It's one of those things. And he's like, I think I can get these straps and these like, these hoodies, these blanks that I really love, but it would take him like 4 months to do it. And he's talking to every single factory. So we're like, let's just digitize the world's factories. They're the factories. They're contract manufacturers who can make anything. As long as you're able to visualize it, they can work with you.
Wow.
And then we got into the really fun stuff, which is also the most messed up, is so people were like designing it. Then they're like, I just want to find a factory. They found like 10 factories. They talked to all 10 of them. They decided to work with one of them. And they're like, cool, I made like 500 hoodies. I can't put it in my apartment in New York. Like, y'all keep it. And I was like, okay, how hard can this be? It's like a warehouse. So like, let's just go to a warehouse in New Jersey. We were in Hoboken. Well, actually, first we were in a WeWork, then they kicked us out. They're like, you can't use this as a storage facility. And that was our first foray into fulfillment. And we're tripling our fulfillment footprint every year since. But it started with like, you just need this thing, so we'll just do it. And then they're like, now that you're storing it, can you just ship it to the customer? And we're like, okay, this should be easy. None of it is easy. And now we're in the phase of the company where we're realizing all these members are able to design, manufacture, store, and ship. And they're trapped in the technology world of how do you sell products online? How do you get on all the sales channels? How do you set up all the marketing tools? How do you set up your email lists and your affiliate programs? And what you realize is e-commerce has been around for 2 decades, so maybe more. So we can provide turnkey solutions to our members there too. And when you summarize the whole system, you realize that like Costco and how it's like such an amazing model of everything they do, they just add value to their members, whether it's selling hot dogs or jeans or MacBooks. We are seeing that we're doing that with our membership program, where we're like, we find something that every business should use. And we ask ourselves, can we deliver it faster, better, cheaper? If we can, then we add it to the membership, and then they get value from it. So everyone doesn't have to use everything. We want it to feel like a Costco membership where you can go in and just buy one thing. But over time, we believe that the world will start having more and more of these companies using Pietra's global infrastructure versus rebuilding it themselves, and falling victim to the costs and time that's associated with that.
Wow.
It's mind-blowing.
Are you guys also like building out websites for consumer or your customers as well?
So it's interesting. Like we're a tech platform, so we started with people naturally ask that. How do I build a Shopify website? We're like, let's go get like the best freelancers in the world and have a section of our marketplace that's go hire a developer. Now, as we evolve, we start adding in things like we have a Shopify store as a service. So if you are in a higher enough membership tier, you can pick from one of our partners' themes that you can pay for, some of the free themes, and we'll actually go set all that up for you. And you own it. We don't take any ownership in any of these businesses. You just pay exactly for what you use. And our goal is to say, here's your Shopify website now. Maybe you got to develop through the platform with a developer, or maybe you just use one of the preset themes, but it's yours forever and you can kind of run with it. And we have our own storefront, which is like $5 a month for a storefront. You know, we try to make it very affordable. And then of course it plugs into all the websites and all the storefronts, right? TikTok Shop, BigCommerce, Shopify, etc.
The one thing that as you were kind of telling this story, it almost felt like V10 of what drop shipping was like 5-6 years ago, right? Are you like, how do you feel about that stigma of, okay, well, drop shipping was like, all right, people were just ordering from China, shipping 3-4 weeks later and creating some type of business around it, versus what this is just like ultimately next level.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the most frequently asked questions, and in a way for a lot of, you know, investors or whatever, people will just be like, this is kind of like some shitty system that you built. And what I help them understand is when you build tools that allow creative people to do things in the world, the quality doesn't decrease, it increases. Like all the drop shippers, you know, weren't like, this is so amazing, I get to like skin really crappy low quality products and ship them direct and I don't have to touch any of it. I think through the other lens of, if you could give them the tools to make something great, they would bring great products to the world, right? Like you give Rihanna the infrastructure and she makes Fenty, right? Like it's not like she was like, cool, now that you give me the infrastructure, let's go to the least possible, like the lowest quality thing that you can make. And so our philosophy on this is like, we believe that drop shipping and print on demand and these types of companies were actually the early signs of there is demand for creativity in the commerce space. They weren't the end goal that people wanted. Like, how many people do you meet say like, the best thing I want to design is a t-shirt with a logo on the right breast? Like very few, right? If you give them the infrastructure and make it as easy as drop shipping, as easy as print on demand, as cost effective as that, then they will almost always jump to the next level. That's like one of our biggest challenges as well, which is we have print on demand partnerships on the platform. We have print shops in our manufacturing marketplace. When you ask someone, do you want to continue drop shipping or do you want to evolve your brand into making something valuable? Look at Obvi, like make it valuable. There's such a greater upside in trying. They almost always just do that. So I would say the print on demand and drop shipping factories on our platform they get the least business of all the members.
Our last question on this, because it's just so interesting. It's just like, all right, if I come to you with like one idea, right? You pretty much take on a lot of responsibility for 95% of it, right? So whether that's managing the relationships with suppliers and then ensuring, you know, uptime on websites, and then on the marketing side, right, getting everything up and running. So if you guys are really like carrying out the majority of the business, how do you guys said you don't take anything of like ownership on any of the businesses. Like, doesn't that almost feel like you're putting in so much work and then it's like, well, this thing blows up and we don't really get anything out of it?
Well, yes, but I think like we protected ourselves. And I think I'm an outsider to e-commerce. So when I look at this and I look back at the last 10 years, I think the inability for a company and like VCs to back a company that solves this problem holistically is the problem, right? These single point solutions that solve one of your problems, what happens over the course of 5 years? They increase their prices every year. As your business grows, you end up spending more with them, and their proportion of revenue grows as a business grows, like per customer. And you're like, that's not the way it should work. Like, how weird is it that as your email list grows, you pay someone more money to email people? You're like, I did all the work. Like, what are you talking about? And so I think there was a fundamental mismatch in the way the direction of the world's e-commerce like market was going was not in line with helping more people start more businesses and better businesses. And so we took a very principled stance, which is we are not going to make money on, I mean, we will make some money, but we won't build our business model on the idea that someone must succeed. And if they succeed, we gouge them even more. And so we had to take a step back and we said, what are the things we can make money on? What are the things we can't make money on? And, you know, that's why we ended with the membership model, which is it's the only business model that we see that we've tried. We've tried all these different business models that allow everyone in the world that wants to try a way to try to launch their business. And what we give up with that is, and then you pay per use. And what you give up is if one business decides to go from 0 to 20 million in 2 years, guess what? You can't make a lot of money. You can't make an outsized portion on that person. And that's okay. Like the market for e-commerce is literally infinite. Like India, Germany, France, UK, these things are growing at like 60 to 80% year over year in terms of new businesses. We don't have to squeeze the 6 people that make $1 million on Shopify in the last year, right? Like that's the wrong way to build it. And I think the old world is that. Like every SaaS solution, and to which we pay for some of these, they go, congratulations for growing your business. The bill is 30% higher now. And I'm like, damn, just to like print this little thing, huh? Like you got us. And if you think about e-commerce, every part of the system is that.
Yeah.
So the only way it was gonna be solved in our opinion was someone needs to come in and take a big bet to reinvent the whole entire industry. And the number one thing VCs will come to me, scared VCs, the ones that don't think futuristic, they'll be like, you should strip this whole thing down and just focus on your most profitable segment. Or the thing that drives the most revenue, or the thing that drives the most usage. And I'm like, that's like Costco being like, because everyone loves their hot dogs, let's just focus on hot dogs. They're like, no, it's like one of the many things, and I get it, people love this. They love the gas. Costco's not turning into a gas station. It's just a member perk. Right. And yes, we're not gonna make the most money off gas, but it's a portfolio. And so that's how we got to where we are, and it's very controversial, I will say. Both I think in the market and even from an outside perspective, but I live or die by that idea, which is we're at the point where you got to reinvent it. Otherwise, it's just going to get worse and worse.
And I feel like that's what your point of differentiation is, because if you just had just the product design studio, which somebody else could maybe go and make something like that, then you have all these different competitors, but you have all these other services within that portfolio. And I feel like that's what makes your business special versus everybody else.
Exactly. Like we say that we are the company where rubber meets the road. I've been through so many cycles now, creator economy, crypto, now we're in an AI wave. And ultimately what it come back to is we are building like global commerce infrastructure that sits below all of these trends. As long as the world needs to make stuff in a factory, store and ship stuff around the world, and sell it on the internet broadly, we will continue to exist and provide value. Now it's for the outside investors to determine what our margins are in each of these things, but ultimately we are building like that base case for the world. I say to everyone internally, there will be 100 different point solutions for each of these things. But as a member, you are basically guaranteed to get the lowest cost and state of the art of that point solution if we can build it. And the other thing I'll say is if we can't build it, we will partner with the companies, right? So there's some things that are just phenomenal products that our members should be using. Think like, I don't know, PostScript, think numeral tax, things that are like super gnarly and have amazing founders and amazing teams. We will be the first ones to say to our members, please go use these awesome products. Because we're not going to build it. We can't, even if we did build it, it wouldn't be cheaper, faster, easier. Right. So what are we really doing? We're competing for the sake of competing. Go use these partners. Yeah. And I just love that like we're all in this together mentality. And it takes, a specific stance on, you have to be okay with it. It's a portfolio.
Yeah. The one other piece that's really, really cool here is like you touched on, you've iterated a lot and you've landed on this membership model. Touch a little bit more on the membership model, right?
Yeah, good question. I think I've learned through pain what the right answer is. So we said, okay, what can we do given that a bunch of people want to try? If we make it free, we can't actually lower the barriers of trying, right? Because like we needed to do some things and we would have run out of money. We can't like stand up a fulfillment center for someone who's doing 10 orders a month, right? Without any money. We can't bring on like low MOQ suppliers that we do deals with to come onto our platform that work with Nike with no money, right? And no resources. So what we realized was like, if it is a bit of a leap of faith, right? Which is like, okay, we're going to remove ourselves from the market of, I want to spend no money and I'm not really highly motivated, and bet the farm on there are enough people in the world that are motivated to at least try. And I mean, memberships to just talk to our factory network starts at like $15 a month, right? So it's like very like to just make samples and design stuff, maybe $20 a month.
Wow.
So yes, it scales up to and what we realized is as soon as we did that, we immediately cut out the riffraff, right? Of people who are like, maybe I want to do this, maybe I don't, which were clogging up all of our like customer support lines, our software quotas, our logistics division, our manufacturing division. Our manufacturers will be like, we have 75 people per day that are just like, hello, can you make shirts? I'm like, yeah, damn, dude, and they're like, but our profile says we make shirts for Nike, so I don't know how much more clear we can be.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, we'll like try and solve this all together. And so we brought the membership program. We said, if you are motivated enough to try, this platform is going to help you. We can't, I like the best analogy that someone gave me and I use now all the time, which is you can't really force someone to start a company just like you can't force someone to quit their job. You can remind them and it will bubble up inside of them. But ultimately, everyone knows this, like you will only quit your job when you're ready, right? There's nothing I can say to you to make you quit tomorrow. I can talk about how bad your boss is and your life is and you'll be like, yeah, I know. And you'll get drunk and you'll be like, I know. But then one day you just wake up and you're like, fuck it, I'm quitting. And so it's the same thing with business building. Like we could try everything to get someone who's not ready to start a business, but ultimately it's a multi-year commitment to some degree. And we were like, all right, let's just start our memberships like at the point where there's people or for the people that are at that point. And we do have free tools. So like I would say tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people have used our free tools. That's things like join our workshops and learn how to start a business. Print on demand is completely free to use the tools and you get a discount just for being in our platform. There's design tools that you can actually use for free and like conceive of ideas to hopefully get, to the next step. So we are trying to build free tools for people pre-membership to get them ready to buy a membership, and we don't want anyone regretting their membership. We don't want people buying a membership and being like, I don't like this, I'm not ready, like blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of how we think about it. And it was the only real system that worked that allowed people in India to start a business, in Spain to start a business, and America to start a business all at the same time where we can provide value.
I'm really curious what the top niches are for your clientele.
I mean, oh my God, you can't really, there's like,
It's the craziest thing.
Oh my God, the craziest thing is like, actually like a week ago, someone was like, I've joined as part of Pietra, I'm in the membership, I'm going to the marketplace and I don't see lizards and geckos that I want to source to sell on my Shopify site. And I was like, dude, this is like skirting the line between e-commerce. Like we have shelf-stable goods. So that's definitely the weirdest, but.
You're not sourcing that?
I remember I'm like, did this guy just type in that in this, like in the search, like he's looking to source geckos? Like, someone reach out to this person and like refund the membership. Like we're not gonna be able to help you here.
That's funny.
But no, we've seen everything under the sun. Like I've talked to Kanye West that wants to source gold from the Maldives to, like a really cool brand like Nico Hama that's doing matcha chocolate. And then of course you have the standard things that are like clothing, swimwear, sneakers, etc.
Supplements?
But supplements, yeah, not too many different supplements. Supplements is a hard space, so when you guys know this. And we try not to digitize a factory segment that we think will just lower the quality of the whole market. Right, so there's a lot of people out there that are like, just slap your logo on these vitamin box, and we're like, ugh, like this seems like not the thesis of the company where people can be inspired by you and not copy you, but make the next great supplement. Right, we see a lot of that. So we're very cognizant of what the downsides of us doing it wrong are. It just gets weird and weird, like jewels that you put on your pet's butt, like buttholes, like that's like a real thing that exists in the world.
Okay.
Yeah, they cover it up. Like I'm not even kidding. Like creativity is unbounded.
Oh, you got a supplier for everything.
well, this is a great point. I think people are like, when they look at it, yeah, that's a real thing, by the way. So look it up. But when you think about it, like the factories of the world can make anything as long as they have the raw materials. Right. So we really are digitizing like the textile industry more than clothing manufacturers, right? And that's the important part that people should understand. They can make anything, and so you should let your creativity wild. Instead of what's an interesting tidbit is we thought that as we digitize this, we'd see more copycats of things. And I think that I don't think I see copycats almost everywhere. Of course, the factories can't actually copy something, but I mean, even from an idea perspective, like people see Obvi, they are inspired. And they're not like, I'm immediately going to make birthday cake flavored collagen. They're like, they immediately go, okay, you did that. This is really awesome. Let me go make, something else on this side and go work with this factory to figure out like the best superfood mix that I can. And that's exactly what we want. So it's kind of cool to see that like the world kind of polices itself as well,
All unique ideas coming in now.
Yeah, or maybe it's like I see the unique ideas rise to the top,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
also powerful to remember that like just copying something because it exists and is great on Amazon doesn't mean you're going to win.
Yeah.
I also feel like people are sometimes, if you have an idea, you're almost hesitant to approach a factory or a manufacturer because you kind of think that idea is too outside the box.
Yeah.
And I feel like this kind of solves for that, where you can just kind of, get what you want.
Yeah, I think like we are the good segue into like the AI stuff. Like there was a mismatch across the industry and the creator.
Yeah.
So factories that make things would be like, I really just want to work with the biggest people in the world because it's a lot of management work to win that business, understand what they want, see if we can make it, do a sample, etc. Not that they didn't want to help brands or that brands could be amazing. It was just like I don't know if I should put my time into this. There's like 100 crazy ideas happening. And so what we realize is that we didn't invent this, we're getting lucky by it, but like the AI wave allows people, like AI agents, to do work on behalf of both parties to reduce the busy work. So like my favorite thing that we invented out of necessity was overseas factories were sleeping when Americans woke up. So it'd be like 11 p.m. and everyone knows this. Instead of busting out your WeChat to like talk to some factory, you're like going on Pietra and you're like, can you make, purple ketchup? Whatever, I'm just making it up. And they were like, this is like so much work. Like, you know how many things go into this? Or your cutoff hoodies, it's like, do you want Supima cotton? Do you like, come on, there's so many questions here. So we started training these bots, we call them sales agent, night shift managers is what we call them, that each factory can go and be like, look at my profile of everything I can make, all the conversations I've had in the last 3 years, everything that I produced, train this agent, this sales agent, so while I'm sleeping, I flip it on and it communicates with these SMBs. What that allowed people to do is to be like, oh, now the SMBs in America can ask all these questions and a bot will be like, good question. Here's my catalog. Can you make t-shirts? Hello. Good morning. We can make t-shirts. And they'll be like, but can you make gray ones? They'll be like, correct. We can make gray ones. It's also shown on my profile. They'll be like, but what item on your profile? And they're like, it's the 67th item. And it's literally an AI trained bot that's just doing that busy work for someone. It's like, crazy. Do you guys do logos? The bot will be like, yes, we do. Can you upload your logo? They'll be like, oh, I see this is in a PNG. Can you do an SVG file? And at one point we looked at it in the marketplace, 30% of the manufacturing conversations were actually robot driven. And that's just on the supplier side. So now the suppliers would wake up, get an email being like, there's an invoice in your inbox that you should send out on Pietra to this customer. And to the factory owner, it's like, we ended up getting to the place where they want to make your private label products with their logo and puff print. Work with them. And the factory owners are like, okay, this I can do. So the AI revolution is going to help these operators not just talk to one supplier, but something that we're developing and should roll out soon is like, imagine something that can go and talk to 2,000 factories in 1 minute, negotiate for you, and just shoot you a text or something. That's like, okay, we talked to 1,500 factories. We robocalled all of them. We emailed them. It feels like humans on both sides, but they're two robots talking to each other.
Just AI talking to AI.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is like the outcome will still be that you get to make your cutoff sleeve hoodies.
Yeah.
It's just humans won't be able to talk to every factory in Guatemala and get an answer back. But now a computer can do that. So when we talk about our platform and like lowering the barriers of entry, you could see that we're not removing the creativity. Right, like even the bots will stop. If you get to some part that's like, we need to talk to you over video to like make sure this design can be embroidered correctly. We have like kill switches. Like they don't go too far. They never take a decision for you. But anywhere that we can remove busy work, where you would hire an assistant and be like, sit here and like read all the ads libraries of every single competitor that's ever existed, those things will start to be automated. And I think it's like very cool across design. It's very cool across manufacturing. I think it's really cool across like global logistics. Like people are selling on the internet. It's global by default. It's crazy to me that like most DTC brands will be like, oh, we got to spin up a team to like sell to Europe and Asia. I'm like, dude, we just gotta buy it from the website. It's like the internet. It's all global. Yeah. Just ship it to them, and they're like, it's $25 shipping, etc. So we will get to a world where you start a business from anywhere, you sell to everyone on the internet, everywhere else, and you're not ever worrying about warehousing and logistics and like which fulfillment center, the computers are going to do it all for you. The hardest part is you have to do the marketing and like the brand, and you have to tell your story. That's never going to go away.
I feel like there's so many nuances from the customer side to the supplier side. Then when you get into even the web development side, marketing side, like how are you thinking about like building out your team to handle all of this?
Yeah, another great question, and one that we learned a lesson early on. So the lesson we learned is you cannot digitize creativity. And so when we started the company, it was really funny. We had like one factory that made sunglasses. We're like, cool, let's just have like a form where you just like say all the things you need or like choose all the different options. And we thought it was really awesome. We're like, cool, you just like this frame and this lens and that lens and whatever, emboss this and don't do that. And then we get one more factory. It's like, we figured out how to make sunglasses with metal. And we're like, damn, the whole form needs to change. Okay, there's like infinite creativity. And they're like, and by the way, on this metal, there's only etching. There's no embossing. There's no, there's the glue can't go on this. And we're like, this is gonna be very, very hard to digitize, like the permutations of creativity. So before we pivoted the company, like, or right around that time, we realized we basically called bankruptcy on creativity, digitization. We were like, we're never going to be able to cover every basis of nuance. So what's like the base thing that we can do? And it ends up being, we got to give you a way to collaborate directly with your supplier. We will build the tools to allow you to collaborate, but text isn't going anywhere. Video chat's not going anywhere. Tech packs aren't going anywhere. We might make it easier, but we thought that there was a very, very low chance that we would be able to take what's in your brain, digitize everything so it's all just switches, and then end up with like a great brand like Avi. Yeah. Like, it's so impossible to do that because the next person goes, okay, I want this to be like all green and I want to compete with like this granola bar brand. And you're like, fuck, like there's like a million different ways to do that. So we go to the base, what I call them like primitives of what we can do. And so, we focus on building the best tools for that, which is you're gonna have to video chat your factory because like there's so much nuance here. We're not gonna try and fake it that you don't have to. If you have issues with your samples, video chat them and like record it, and we'll do all the tooling around that. We'll annotate it, we'll send you the recording, we'll send you the summary notes, we'll give you tools to draw on the screen. But ultimately, we're not gonna remove the need to communicate with your factory yet. Maybe in the future we will. But that we kind of like took a stance on let the creativity kind of go wild with the customer and let them communicate it in the most effective way.
This is like a more selfish question. Is there a use case for brands that are already established to come to Pietra and utilize certain tools? And maybe you can share a couple of those.
Dude, thank you for that. I think this is the fastest growing part of our company. So this year we started noticing that when you build a modern infrastructure platform, like an AWS, naturally the first people that are going to use it are like the people that want to make iOS apps. Give me all the turnkey stuff, make these iOS apps. And then before you know it, it's infrastructure. So you can get value out of it at any size. And before you know it, Netflix is run on Azure or AWS or something like that. So what we're finding this year is all of our services and infrastructure is modular. And what we're seeing is existing businesses that have way more to gain and lose by not optimizing their business can tap into this infrastructure platform and extract value out of it in the way they want. So a good example of this is like Seth Rogen's brand was like, we really need to make our packaging lower costs. They find a factor on the platform, 75% COGS reduction. They're like, cool. They're like, the membership was worth it just for this, right? We have another brand who's like, we're trying to scale up fulfillment. Let's say we're going from single-digit millions to double-digit millions. We're like, okay, our fulfillment center, for example, is probably the best rates in America. Go use this tool, see how it can save you money. We're going to save you $200,000 in a year, right? And so existing businesses might not need to string all of the services together, but they can certainly go in and find value out of the part of their company that needs the most help. And it could be manufacturing and sourcing. It could be expanding their product line. It could be optimizing a part of their process. It could be removing software that they're paying tens of thousands of dollars a month for. And that's what we're seeing invest in existing businesses do. So we've rolled out membership plans that are for existing businesses that aren't going to be stuck in the trap and can use the platform a la carte. So we encourage all the businesses to go in, and we say this, which is like, just jump in. You could browse everything for free and see if this can save you like $50,000 in a month. If it can, go buy that one service or go do that one thing if it can help you. And so that was a big evolution of our platform, and something we're really, really proud of. We think that there's probably in the short term a lot more value and a lot more savings that existing businesses can get, from this platform, because there's so much scale, economies of scale that can be fractionalized. I would say the biggest gain for an existing business is if you're like over 1 million and like under 15, you can probably start saving like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year immediately.
Insane.
Yeah, kind of nuts. And I didn't know any of this before I started, so.
So one of the pieces about membership, right? Again, we talked a lot about the value you provide in platform, but then there is also, when it comes to membership, when you think about Netflix, it's like they're constantly coming out with new stuff and new content, new material, and you're like, I'm here, I'm staying here, I'm not going anywhere. What do you think about on the membership model, incentives and ways to keep people there and excited about whether it's saving money, making more money, whatever it may be for their business?
Yeah, that's one of the hardest problems that we had to solve, right? Because as you grow an e-commerce business, you're trying to automate everything. And so we had this interesting problem of like, can we continue to innovate fast enough so that you keep coming back to the platform and keep using it? And in retail, for example, it's easy. You just have different SKUs and you can bring them in and you can do 100 new designs every week if you wanted to. For building software and operational software is a little bit difficult. So what we started doing is we started to think about what are pieces of value that a business owner that's a member to Pietra at any size can get every single day. And so a good example of that is like today we're actually launching in beta a cashback program. So we think it's a first of its kind. It's on top of your credit card cashback program. It's a Pietra cashback program. And we took every part of your business from design, software, and ideation, manufacturing, logistics and fulfillment, and the e-commerce software, and said, can we give business owners money back if they continue to be successful as a business? Kind of the antithesis of increasing prices as you get bigger. And so we're rolling out a cashback program that gives you money back on if you source products, if you work with a factory, if you get packaging. It gives you cash back, puts money back in your pocket just for fulfilling orders through our network. If you install a piece of software that already is probably like 40% off, you get cash back every time, for example, an email is collected, rather than a cost per email when you send it out, right? So we're trying to flip the script. And so that's something that we are excited about, and is a good example of like where our membership shines, which is you can do nothing as a business, scale, and get more money back in your pocket. Oh. Which is the complete opposite of the SaaS world of like, as you scale, we'll take more money from you.
That's amazing.
So we're super proud of that. That will roll out broadly probably by the end of this week or early next, and the early users have it today.
Wow. It's impressive.
Super very cool.
Before we wrap and maybe you queue up a chew on this, I want to do one thing, which is, I asked a question about can established businesses use Pietra. I think we could start with us three. Maybe like, if knowing what we know, where would you go today, given what we need to add Obby? What would you go and start and maybe do at Pietra?
You know where I'd go.
Yeah,
right
I know where you would.
I want to crush that product design studio.
Yeah. There you go.
For anybody who's hasn't been on their website, and I just briefly looked at it, it looks so simple to use. You could just whip up a prompt, or you could put a sketch with a prompt, or you could actually upload a design. You're gonna see like 3D visualization of what you envision your product looking like, and it looks it's not clunky looking. It looks pretty insane.
Yeah, the AI overlords have done a good job, I think. And it's interesting. Like we should definitely riff on this, because I think as an existing business, you already have your core product. You already have your brand identity. Yeah. Right? And how do you use the power of visualization and graphics to extend the brand identity? Like, in the old days, it would be like import our logos into Photoshop and do some stuff and like put on a billboard. It's like a smart object.
Yeah.
Right? What's the future of that? Like, how do we give you ideas for things that you should do next?
Dude, it's like I would, usually create like a mood board or something to try to think of how do I take my existing brand identity and make it a little bit different on the next product. I feel like you could just upload what you have already and you're going to get a bunch of variations of products.
Exactly. Like I think in a week or so, we're going to roll out, you just need your website. Yeah. Like these models can be trained, and we're training them to be like, we've read your entire website. If you give us sales data, even better. we know all of your logos. We have all the information. Like the computers can crunch all these numbers. And it could say, based on everything, if you want to increase your AOV based on everything we know, here are 50 different designs, 50 different product categories, 50 different products within those categories that are just for your website to increase AOV, right? Like I dropped in a barbershop's website that sold like pomade and stuff like that. And we're just early testing out the model.
Yeah.
And it spits out, all right, you want to increase AOV and you're an e-commerce brand, so you want to lower shipping costs. Here's 3 different product categories, 10 products within those categories. Here are designs from the AI studio for those concepts. And here's 10 factories that can make all those things. And I'm like, this is a crazy world that we're building, right? Like, what are we doing here? And sometimes I take a step back and I'm like, is this good or what's happening here? But ultimately, because we're not making the decision for you, I don't think it's going to snowball into something that's bad. It gives you superpowers.
Yeah,
Where you're
exactly.
like, instead of making a mood board, how about I upload 5 photos and I can just decide what concept, product concepts I want to do, packaging concepts, whatever it may be. And the AI doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to give you the concepts, right?
Like you just need an idea.
Exactly. And though everyone knows this, the blank slate problem is the hardest problem.
Yeah.
It's like in universally for music, for business, like for reports, if you're a student, empty page is the hard thing. You give me 150 drafts, I can pick whatever I want with it.
No, I think another example of this was what you sent this morning. The screenshot in our group chat today, where you were like, I think it was a screenshot from our community.
Yeah.
Where someone was like, what is it like? You guys need to bring back the.
We missed the shaker cups. We missed like the free gifts that you guys used to offer.
Yeah. And like just thinking about that, my initial reaction to that in my mind was like, damn, that was like the shittiest stuff we bought. It was the cheapest stuff, and it was slapping our logo on the cheapest stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm not even sure why they miss it. Right. But I'm like, now, like, again, after just talking to you, it's like, no, let's go do this right.
Totally.
You know,
And
let's go actually create a actual version of this that's we're proud of.
And when you talk to existing businesses, one of, it's a infrastructure platforms. You could use it in many different ways. One of the fastest growing things that we have for existing businesses is they're like, can we just outsource like expansion product lines, promotional products? Can we just run our PR subscription box business through this? Like, what are the things that, we're really good at what we do, but can we go and like design custom PR boxes for our top influencers, find a factory, make with them? It's like, I kind of want to put an intern on it and be like, make this awesome. Make this awesome and use all the tools available for you. And it's not our core business, but it is very important and it needs to be high quality. Yeah. So, we will go with, I probably can't even say this under NDA, but like we'll go with these bigger brands and it'd be like, if you go to their website, like 3 of their products on their Shopify website will just be fully operated through a Pietra stack. So it ships out of North Carolina, it's manufactured through a factory. Their website looks the same, but those 3 items on their Shopify end up being fully managed in like an outsourced way. And that's a good example of like an existing business that's like, look, we're not going to touch our core SKUs. Like we know how to do this. But if you want to do shaker cups, you can find probably the best, shaker cup factory, and also not have to hire a team of people like, okay, I know we don't make a lot of money on this. It's like going to be hard to compete with like our core product, but we still want it to be good and we still want it to happen and people obviously love it. So there's like a perception reality gap in terms of the value people get from it. Yeah. Those are things that I'm like, definitely just outsource that to the global machine that is this like Pietra platform. So yeah, that's like a good example of how existing businesses can use it.
We have to use it.
We'll definitely make those shaker concepts. Like, definitely.
If anything for that.
Yeah. Thank you, Chu.
Yeah, I mean, this was absolutely amazing.
Incredible.
For those listening, for those watching, maybe we do have a lot of founders, operators, and maybe even people who are like just on the cusp of starting a business, right? What's one thing you would want to kind of give as advice or any takeaways back to these people and something to chew on?
What I find myself telling most first-time founders is the dream you have is way closer and attainable than you think, right? Like, and I say that across everything, but specifically when starting a business, the brands that you admire, the companies that you build are there in your grasp if you just break down like the fear barrier. A lot of people think that like it is impossible to do X, Y, Z. And now hopefully with Pietra, they can look at it in 5 minutes of browsing around being like, oh my God, like this is very possible, if not attainable in a 3-month horizon. And so what I tell them is like, you should never be fearful of trying. And these tools are all here to help you do the thing. And most people just get stuck at like, it's probably impossible to make this company. And then once once you know these companies, you'd be like, it's not that hard, right? Like, it's hard to make it successful, but it's not that hard to start. And so what I would say is like, just put one foot in front of the other and try. And that's generally what gets them over the edge, just believing that they can do it. So cool promotions. So all Chew on This listeners that sign up with the link, it's go.pietrastudio.com/chew-on-this, is going to get 50% off any membership that they choose, and then a free audit to their business to see how much money we could save you. So if you're a new business or an existing business, go to www.go.pietrastudio.com/chew-on-this. 50% off all memberships, and then a free audit for your business where our analysts will go crazy and like help you save a bunch of money.
Chew on that.
If you want more from us, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, and check out the website chewonthis.io.